The Galactic Integration Academy floated in the quiet void above Neutral Station Orbit 7. A huge ring of silver and white metal caught starlight on every side. Inside, hundreds of young beings from many worlds walked the wide corridors, learned together, and trained to build peace among stars. Lyra Voss stepped off the shuttle ramp with her small duffel bag. She wore the plain gray uniform all cadets got on arrival. Her dark hair stayed tied back tight. Her face showed calm eyes that looked straight ahead, but never pushed for attention. She measured 1.60 meters tall, which made her shorter than most species here. Her shoulders stayed level, even when crowds pressed close. First day orientation filled the main hall with noise. Winged Zorath clicked beaks in sharp arguments. Tall Vorkath rumbled deep laughs while their tail tips flicked. Krell moved in groups, mandibles working fast as they spoke in clicks and hisses. A few other humans stood near the back walls, trying to look out of the way. Busy. Lyra found a seat near the edge. She listened as the head instructor, a scarred old Quelthar named Vren, spoke about unity, respect, and the rules that kept this place from turning into a battlefield. He warned everyone that fights outside training grounds meant expulsion, no exceptions. After the talk, cadets moved to their assigned dorm blocks. Lyra walked alone down a bright corridor. When she turned a corner, a big Vorkath cadet stepped in front of her. He stood 2 meters high, scales dark green and shining. His name tag read, Grask. He looked down with yellow slit eyes. "Move, human, you block the path," Grask said, voice loud on purpose. Lyra stepped to the side. "Sorry," she said, voice soft and even. Grask laughed loud enough for others to hear. "Look, the soft skin apologizes. How cute. Maybe Earth teaches manners instead of fighting." 2 more Vorkath joined him. They towered over her. One bumped her shoulder as they passed. Her bag slipped, but she caught it without a sound. Grask leaned close. "You will learn your place here, little one. Humans break easy." Lyra said nothing. She adjusted her bag and kept walking. The laughter chased her down the hall. In the next weeks, the pattern grew clear. Many cadets saw humans as easy marks. Small bodies, no natural weapons, short history in the galaxy. Lyra drew extra attention because she never pushed back. When someone knocked her tray in the mess hall, she picked up the pieces without complaint. When her training boots went missing, she requested new ones from supply and said thank you to the clerk. A young human cadet named Mara pulled Lyra aside one evening in the common room. "You need to stop letting them walk over you," Mara whispered. "They think we are all weak if you stay quiet." Lyra looked at the stars through the big window. "I came here to learn, not to prove anything," she answered. Mara shook her head. "They won't respect quiet. They respect strength. Show them once, and they back off. Small and faint. Maybe later. Right now, it's not worth it." The next day in 0G Basics class, cadets paired off to practice simple maneuvers. Lyra matched with a quiet Krell female named Skara, who moved careful and spoke little. They finished their drill clean and on time. Grask watched from across the gym. His group floated nearby. After class, Grask drifted over. His claws clicked against his harness. "You did okay, soft skin," he said, "but that means nothing against real power." Lyra unclipped her line. "I finished the drill, that is all that matters." Grask grinned, showing sharp teeth. "We will see. Soon the exhibition matches start. Everyone must show skill. No hiding then." Lyra nodded once and pushed off toward the exit. Grask called after her, "Better practice, human. You will need it." Days passed with more small incidents. Someone scratched deep marks into Lyra's locker door. A Zorath cadet spread wing to block her path in the hall, and laughed when she ducked under. Mixed cadets followed her in the corridors, whispering soft skin, until she reached her room. Each time Lyra kept calm. She fixed what broke. She waited for doors to clear. She slept sound at night. One evening, after mess hall, The crowd lingered near the food counters. Grask stood on a low platform with his friends around him. He raised his voice so everyone heard. "Attention cadets, I have a challenge for the new human, Lyra Voss." Heads turned. Lyra stood near the back with her empty tray. Grask pointed a claw. "Come forward, Softskin. Show us what humans can do. I offer a friendly spar. No weapons, academy rules, just skill." The room grew quiet, then filled with murmurs. Some laughed, some watched curious, a few humans looked worried. Lyra walked forward, slow and steady. She stopped a few steps from the platform. "I decline," she said, voice clear but quiet. Grask tilted his head. "You refuse. A real cadet never refuses a challenge. Are you scared?" Lyra met his eyes. "Choose when to fight. This is not the time." More laughter rolled through the crowd. Grask stepped down close enough that his breath touched her face. "Then you admit humans are weak. You admit your place." Lyra stayed still. "I admit nothing. I simply choose peace today." She turned and walked toward the exit. The crowd parted. Some jeered. Some whispered. Grask roared behind her. "Run then, Softskin. Run while you can. But the exhibition comes soon. No running there." Lyra kept her pace even. She passed through the doors. The laughter followed her out into the quiet corridor. She walked to the observation deck alone. Stars burned bright beyond the glass. She stood with hands behind her back and watched the slow turn of the galaxy. Her face showed no anger, no fear, just the same calm she carried every day. In another part of the station, Instructor Tharvok, the old Krell, sat in his office. He pulled up cadet files on his screen. He paused on Lyra Voss' name. Something in her record stayed sealed under high clearance. He tapped a claw on the desk, then closed the file for now. The academy kept turning. Classes, drills, meals, sleep. And every day, the tension around Lyra grew thicker. Everyone waited for the moment she would break or fight back. Grask and his group planned louder. They spoke in the halls about the exhibition match they would force. They smiled sharp when they saw her pass. Lyra kept walking, head up, steps sure. She spoke when needed. She listened more. She stayed ready without showing it. The stars outside turned slow and patient, just like her. Weeks moved forward at the academy like slow orbits. The small attacks on Lyra never stopped, but they stayed small. Grask and his friends grew louder in their taunts. They scratched more marks on her locker. They hid her datapad once and laughed when she found it under a bench. They pushed her tray again in the mess hall and watched the food spill across the floor. Each time, Lyra cleaned up without complaint. She spoke polite words when she had to. She walked away when she could. Her face stayed calm. Her hands stayed steady. The other humans watched her with worry. Mara tried again one night in their shared dorm. "You let them win every day," she said, voice low. "If you hit back just once, they stop." Lyra sat on her bunk and looked at the wall. "I know," she answered, "but I choose not to hit back. Not yet." Mara crossed her arms. "Why not? You were in the service. Everyone knows humans fought hard in the Rimward Wars. You have training." Lyra looked at her, then back at the wall. "Then training," she said, quiet. "I have memories I do not want to bring here." Mara waited for more, but Lyra said nothing else. The room stayed silent, except for the soft hum of the station air. In the instructor's lounge, Tharvok, the old Krell, sat alone at a low table. His mandibles clicked slow as he thought. He had seen many cadets come and go through the years. Most showed their fire early. The quiet ones often hid the deepest scars. He pulled up the secure cadet files again on his private screen. He found Lyra Voss' name once more. The main file showed basic information. Earth origin, age 28, standard academy scores, nothing special. But a red seal marked one section, classified special circumstances, access level 4 or higher. Tharvok paused. His claw hovered over the access pad. He knew the rules. Breaking that seal without cause meant trouble. Yet something pulled at him. He entered his instructor code. The screen flickered and opened. The file unfolded like a long scroll. Medical logs, after-action reports, commendations, redacted sections, still black, but enough showed through to make his mandibles freeze. One entry caught his eye. Rimward Incursion. Year 4. Battle of Corridor 7. Lyra Voss, rank sergeant at the time, led defense of breached boarding tube against 14 enemy combatants. Held position 47 minutes under heavy fire. Confirmed 11 kills. Assisted in rescue of 6 wounded squad members. Suffered compound fracture left forearm. Second-degree plasma burns right thigh. Refused medical evac until relief arrived. Another clip played silent helmet cam footage. Lyra moved through smoke and sparks. Her suit torn at the shoulder. Blood streaked her visor. She fired precise bursts around corners. She dragged a fallen comrade by the harness with one good arm. She never stopped moving forward. Tharvok closed the file slow. His breath came out in a long hiss. He had fought in his youth. He knew what it took to survive that kind of fight. Also knew why some warriors chose silence after. The next day in advanced tactics class, cadets sat in rows around a hollow table. The instructor, a sharp-eyed Zorath named Kale, displayed a scenario. Pirate raid on a supply convoy. Teams had to plan defense. Lyra sat near the back. She listened. She took notes. She said little. Grask sat with his group. They whispered and pointed. When Kale asked for volunteers, Grask stood first. "My team will take the assault role," he said. "We will show how real fighters handle threats." His eyes flicked to Lyra. "Then maybe the human can show us how Earth defends." The class laughed low. Kale looked at Lyra. "Cadet Voss, care to join a team?" Lyra stood. "I will observe if that is allowed, sir." Kale tilted his head. "Very well. Observation is permitted." The simulation ran. Grask team charged in fast. They overpowered the defenders quick. They took the convoy in under 10 minutes. Cheers rose from the Vorkath side. Grask turned to Lyra. "See, soft skin, that is how you win. No hiding, no waiting." Lyra nodded once. "It was a good plan," she said. Grask laughed loud. "You think you could do better?" Lyra met his eyes. "I think plans change when the enemy does not follow rules." The laughter died a little. Grask frowned, then waved a claw. "Whatever. Keep watching from the back where you belong." After class, Lyra walked the outer ring corridor alone. She passed a maintenance hatch where no one watched. A small group of cadets waited there. 3 Vorkath and 1 Zorath. They stepped out to block her path. Grask was not with them, but his friends were. "Time for a private lesson," one said, voice low. "No cameras here, no instructors." Lyra stopped. She looked at each face. "You do not want this," she said calm. They laughed and moved closer. One reached to grab her arm. Lyra stepped left. Her hand caught the wrist, twisted up and back. The cadet yelped and dropped to one knee. She released before he hit the floor. Another lunged. Sidestepped. Caught his balance point and pushed. He stumbled into the wall, hard. The third hesitated, then charged. She ducked under his swing, stepped behind him, locked his arm, and pressed until he gasped. The Zorath hung back, wings half spread. Lyra looked at him. "Leave now," she said, "or join them." He backed away fast. The others groaned and limped off. No one spoke of it later. That night, Tharvok found Lyra on the observation deck. She stood at the rail, looking out at the turning stars. He approached, slow. "Cadet Voss," he said, voice low. She turned. "Instructor." He stopped beside her. "I reviewed some files today, yours among them." Lyra said nothing. "You could have ended those incidents weeks ago," Tharvok said. "Why hold back?" Lyra looked back at the stars. "I came to this place to build something new, not to carry old fights. I want them to see humans as equals, not as threats. Tharvok clicked his mandibles soft. Respect is earned in different ways. Words. Some need silence. Some need to see the truth. Lyra smiled small. Maybe, but truth can hurt more than fists sometimes. He nodded slow. You have wisdom beyond your years, cadet. Keep it close. The exhibition approaches. Grask will push harder. He wants to force your hand. Lyra turned to him. I know. Tharvok studied her face. You will not break. No, she answered quiet, but I may have to remind them why some things stay buried. They stood in silence for a time. The stars moved outside, patient and endless. The next morning, rumors spread fast. Grask planned something big for the open training exhibition. A public challenge. No refusal allowed under Academy custom. The whole cadet body would watch. He spoke of it in every hall, loud and proud. The human will fight, or she will be marked coward forever. Cadets whispered. Humans looked worried. Aliens looked eager. Lyra walked through it all, calm as ever. She ate her meals. She attended her classes. She trained alone in the empty gym at night. Moving through forms no one else knew. Mara found her there one evening, after lights low. You heard about the exhibition, Mara said. They will not let you say no this time. Lyra finished a slow strike and stood straight. I heard. What will you do? Mara asked. Lyra wiped sweat from her brow. I will go, she said. Simple. Mara stared. You will fight? Lyra looked at her friend. If they force it, yes, but only enough, not more. Mara shook her head. You scare me sometimes, Lyra. Lyra smiled faint. Good. Maybe that will help when the time comes. Outside the gym, the station lights dimmed slow. The exhibition day drew near. Tension built like pressure in a sealed tube. Everyone waited for the moment the quiet human would either bend or break. Lyra slept sound that night. Dreams of old corridors and red lights flickered behind her eyes. She woke calm, ready without show. The stars kept turning outside, and inside the academy, the storm gathered. Quiet, but sure. The exhibition day arrived like a storm everyone saw coming. The central arena stood packed, shoulder to shoulder, with cadets from every species. The air hummed with talk and excitement. Bright lights shone down on the wide padded ring in the middle. Holoscreens floated above, ready to show every move. The instructors sat in the front rows, arms crossed, faces serious. Grask stood near the ring entrance with his group around him. He flexed his claws and rolled his shoulders. His scales caught the light, green and hard. He looked tall and sure. The crowd parted when he moved. Some cheered his name. Others watched, quiet, waiting. Lyra entered from the opposite side. She walked alone in her standard gray uniform. No extra gear, no show. She kept her eyes forward. Her steps stayed even. The murmurs followed her. Some laughed low. Some whispered bets on how fast she would fall. The presiding officer, a tall Quelthar named Vren, stepped to the center of the ring. Silence. Cadets, this is an open training exhibition under Academy rules. Full contact allowed. No lethal force. No weapons beyond training pads. Submission or ring out ends the match. This is a demonstration of skill and control. He looked at Grask, then at Lyra. Cadet Grask has issued a formal challenge. Cadet Voss has been selected to answer it. Refusal now carries formal discipline for avoidance of duty. Do both accept? Grask stepped forward fast. I accept, he said, voice loud and proud. I will show everyone the proper place of humans. All eyes turned to Lyra. She stood calm at the edge of the ring. She looked around the faces, then back at Vren. I accept, she said, simple and clear. A roar went up from the crowd. Grask grinned wide, showing every sharp tooth. He entered the ring first, bouncing light on his toes, claws out, but not fully extended. Lyra stepped in after. She moved to her side of the center line. She stood straight, hands loose at her sides. No bounce, no show of nerves. Vren raised his hand. Begin. Grask did not wait. He charged straight forward in the classic Vorkath rush. Legs pumping, tail whipping for balance. Claws aimed to grab and pin. He moved fast for his size, expecting the small human to freeze or dodge wild. Lyra did neither. She stepped left just enough, a bare shift of weight. Grask's claws sliced air where her chest had been. He stumbled forward, momentum carrying him past. She stayed behind him, now calm as ever. The crowd gasped, then laughed, thinking she ran. Grask spun fast, tail lashing. He roared and charged again, this time lower, claws wide to scoop her up. Lyra waited until the last breath. She dropped low, slid under his reach, and came up inside his guard. Her hands moved quick. One caught his right wrist, twisted up and out. The joint popped loud. Grask bellowed in pain. She stepped behind him, kept the arm locked high. His tail whipped back wild. She caught it mid-swing with her free hand, yanked down hard. Sounded as vertebrae shifted wrong. Grask dropped to one knee, roaring. The crowd noise died sudden. Lyra released the arm and stepped back. She offered no taunt, no smile. She just watched. Grask pushed up fast, ignoring the pain. He swung his good arm in a wide arc, aiming to smash her aside. Lyra ducked the blow, stepped in close, drove her elbow into the soft spot under his ribs. He grunted, air forced out. She hooked his ankle with her foot, pulled while pushing his shoulder. He toppled forward face first into the mat. He rolled, tried to rise. Lyra moved with him. She dropped onto his back, knees pinning his arms. She wrapped one arm around his thick neck, applied pressure, steady, not crushing. Grask thrashed, kicked, clawed at the mat. His tail whipped useless. His roars turned to gasps. 10 seconds passed. 20. The crowd stood silent now. No cheers, no laughs, just wide eyes and held breath. Grask slapped the mat 3 times fast. Submission. Lyra released instantly. She stood up, stepped back, and offered her hand down. Grask stared at it, breathing hard, then slapped it away. He rolled to his side, clutching his shoulder, eyes wide with shock and something new, fear. Lyra walked to her side of the ring. She stood quiet, hands at her sides again. The arena stayed hushed. Vren stepped forward. Match ends. Cadet Grask submits. Cadet Voss wins. No applause came at first. Then slow claps started from the back. A few humans cheered loud. Others joined. Some aliens nodded slow respect in their faces. Grask stayed on the mat. His friends rushed in to help him up. He pushed them off, limped out without looking back. Lyra stayed in the ring. She looked up at the holoscreens. They flickered sudden. A new feed appeared. Words scrolled across. Classified access granted by Instructor Tharvok. Educational review only. The first image showed helmet cam footage. Dark corridor, red emergency lights flashing. Lyra younger, suit torn, blood on her face. She moved down the hall. Methodical, precise shots. Dropped enemies one after another. She never hesitated. She never panicked. Another clip rolled. Boarding action in vacuum. She floated through 0G, pulled herself along a hull breach, firing short bursts. Boarders came from both sides. She twisted midair, kicked one away, shot another. She dragged a wounded squad mate behind her all the way to safety. Reports scrolled next. Rimward incursion, Battle of Black Reach. Sergeant Lyra Voss held final defensive line against overwhelming force. 23 confirmed combat kills, saved entire platoon from annihilation. Medical log follows. Multiple fractures, internal bleeding, continued combat until relief. A still image appeared. Lyra standing in a breached corridor, bodies around her. She looked tired but alive, a small smile on her face, like she just finished a hard job well done. The crowd watched every second. No one spoke. The silence grew thick. Tharvok sat in the front row, mandibles still. The release, knowing what it would do. The feed ended. The screens went dark. Lyra looked around once, then walked out of the ring, slow and steady. She passed through the parting crowd. No one blocked her path. No one laughed. No one jeered. Mara met her at the exit, eyes wide. "That was you," she whispered. "All of that." Lyra nodded once. It was a long time ago. They walked together down the corridor. The noise behind them started slow, then grew. Cadets talked fast, some in awe, some in fear, some in respect. Grask sat in the medical bay, arm in a sling, tail braced. His friends stood around quiet. He stared at the floor, saying nothing. In the instructor's lounge, Tharvok poured a drink slow. He looked at the empty chair across from him and clicked his mandibles soft. "She chose restraint until forced," he said to no one. "Now they know." Outside, the stars turned calm. The academy kept spinning, but something had shifted deep. Everyone felt it. The quiet human no longer seemed small, no longer seemed weak. Word began to spread already. Whispers in halls, messages on personal pads. The fight record played again and again in private rooms. Eyes widened each time. Lyra went to her dorm. She sat on her bunk and looked out the small window. Stars burned steady. She breathed slow, in and out. No anger, no pride, just the same calm she always carried. The exhibition ended. The day closed, but the change stayed, and it would grow. The days after the exhibition felt different. The academy still turned on its axis. Classes still ran. Drills still happened. Meals still served. But the air carried a new quiet. A respect no one spoke loud. Everyone felt it. Cadets no longer bumped Lyra in corridors. They stepped aside when she approached. Eyes dropped polite. No more scratched lockers. No more hidden gear. No more whispers of soft skin. The word vanished like smoke. Grask returned to class after a week, his arm still in a light cast. His tail moved stiff. He took a seat in the very back row, far from the front. He kept his head down. He spoke only when called on. His voice stayed low. No boasts. No challenges. His friends sat near but silent. They glanced at Lyra quick, then looked away. In the mess hall, one midday, a group of mixed cadets sat close. Lyra entered with her tray. She moved to an empty table. A young Zorath cadet stood fast. "May I join you?" he asked, voice careful. Lyra looked up. "Sure," she said. Others followed, slow. A Krell female. A human male. 2 more aliens. They ate quiet at first. Then the Zorath spoke. "I watched the footage. Your record, I mean. It changed how I see humans." Lyra nodded once. "Thank you for saying that." The Krell female clicked mandibles soft. "We thought strength looked big, loud, claws and size. Now we see it can look small, quiet, until it must not be." Lyra smiled small. "Strength comes in many shapes. The trick is knowing when to use it." They talked more. Careful questions, honest answers. Lyra answered short but true. She never bragged. She never hid the hard parts. The table grew fuller each day. Cadets came to listen, to learn, to sit near the one who once seemed easy to push. Instructor Tharvok found her again one evening in the gym. She trained alone. Slow forms, precise breaths. He watched from the doorway, then stepped in. "Cadet Voss," he said. She stopped, turned. "Instructor." He approached slow. "The change is clear now. Bullying stopped overnight. Cadets, train harder. Respect grows deeper. You did that, without raising your voice much." Lyra wiped her face with a towel. "I did what was needed. When words failed, action spoke." Tharvok clicked soft. "You could have spoken sooner. One display weeks ago and the trouble ends." Lyra met his eyes. "I wanted real change, not fear alone. Fear fades. Respect lasts, when it comes from understanding." He studied her long. "You carry old wars still, yet you choose peace here. That takes more strength than any fight." Lyra looked out the gym window. Stars spun slow outside. Yes, she said quiet. It does. Tharvok nodded once. Keep teaching them. They listen now. More than before. He turned to leave, paused. You have my respect, cadet. Always did. Now they see why. He left. The gym lights stayed soft around her. Nights passed. Cadets asked for lessons. Self-defense, basic holds, simple counters. Lyra agreed, but set clear rules. Train to protect, not to harm. Train fair. No cheap shots. No grudges. Gym filled every free hour. Humans, aliens side by side. Sweating, learning, falling, getting up. Skara, the quiet Krell female, came often. She practiced hard, asked questions deep. One night after session she stayed behind. Why did you hold back so long, she asked, when they hurt you with words and small acts? Lyra sat on the mat, thought quiet, because anger is easy, restraint is hard. I wanted them to choose better, without me forcing the choice. Skara clicked mandibles slow. And when they forced it, then I showed truth, she answered. Not all of it, just enough. Skara looked at her hands. I want to be like that, strong enough to choose peace. Lyra smiled. You already are. Keep practicing. They trained more. The group grew. A small circle of cadets who trained under Lyra. They called it nothing fancy, just the evening sessions. But word spread. Cadets from other blocks joined. Instructors watched quiet, approved. Mara trained beside Lyra one night. She moved better now. Sure. She stopped, after a set, breathing hard. You changed everything, she said. Lyra stretched slow. Not me. They changed themselves. They saw something real and decided to meet it different. Mara laughed soft. You make it sound simple. It is simple, Lyra said, when you stop pretending weakness and start showing truth. Weeks turned to months. The academy felt stronger. Cadets worked together better. Drills ran smoother. Teams mixed without complaint. Disputes ended fast, with words, not fists. One evening, Lyra stood on the observation deck alone. Stars burned bright. The galaxy turned patient. A young alien cadet approached slow. Nervous steps. A small Vorkath, barely out of basic training. Cadet Voss, he said, voice low, may I speak? Lyra turned. Yes. He stopped a respectful distance. I saw the record. I saw the match. I want to learn from you. If you will teach. Lyra looked at him, calm. Why? Because I do not want to be like Grask, he answered. I want to be better. Want to protect. Not destroy. Lyra studied his face, then nodded. We start tomorrow. Evening gym. No special treatment. No excuses. The cadet bowed deep. Thank you. He left quick. Lyra turned back to the stars. She breathed slow, in and out. The quiet felt good. Grask never challenged again. He trained hard alone sometimes, watched the evening sessions from far, never joined. He healed slow. His pride healed slower. But he caused no trouble. Rumor spread beyond the academy. Messages reached other stations, other schools. Stories of the quiet human whose records silenced bullies. Cadets shared clips. Instructors discussed it in reports. The name Lyra Voss became known. Not loud, not proud, just steady. One final night before rotation end, Lyra stood in the gym after everyone left. Lights low, mats empty. She moved through old forms, slow, perfect. Each motion a memory, each breath a choice. Tharvok entered quiet, watched her finish. She stopped, turned. He approached. The cycle ends. Soon, you return to Earth. Yes, she said. He clicked mandibles soft. You leave this place changed, and it leaves you changed. Lyra smiled small. Good change, I hope. The best kind, he answered. You showed us humans are not weak, not fragile. You showed us what restraint looks like, what true strength costs. Lyra looked around the empty gym, then back at him. Thank you for the chance to show it. Tharvok nodded once. Safe travels, Cadet Voss. The stars wait. He left. She stayed a moment longer. The station kept turning. Cadets kept training. The bullying never returned. No one wanted to test the Quiet One again. No one wanted to see that record come alive in person. Word spread through the academy like a slow, warm light. They saw her fight record, and suddenly no one wanted to bully her again. Lyra packed her small bag the next morning, walked the corridors one last time. Cadets nodded as she passed. Some saluted quiet, others smiled. She nodded back. Steady. She stepped onto the shuttle ramp, looked back once. The academy ring gleamed against the black. Stars waited beyond. She sat in her seat, strapped in. The engines hummed. The station fell away slow. Lyra looked out the window. The galaxy opened wide. Patient, endless. She breathed deep, closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again, ready for whatever came next. The silence in the arena stretched long after Lyra stepped out of the ring. Cadets stayed in their seats, eyes fixed on the dark holoscreens. Some whispered low. Others sat frozen, faces pale. The weight of what they just saw pressed down heavy. The quiet human who never fought back had ended a Vorkath warrior in under 90 seconds. Clean, precise, without rage, without waste. Grask limped away, supported by two friends. His shoulder hung wrong, his tail dragged limp. He did not look back at the ring. He did not meet any eyes. The crowd parted for him, quiet now. No cheers followed him out. Lyra walked down the main corridor alone. Her steps stayed even. Her breathing stayed steady. Mara caught up fast and matched her pace. That was unreal, Mara said, voice shaking. You moved like you knew every strike before he made it. Lyra kept walking. It was necessary, she answered. Simple. No more, no less. They reached the observation deck. Lyra stopped at the rail. Stars turned slow beyond the thick glass. She placed her hands on the cool metal and looked out. Mara stood beside her, quiet for a moment. Then she spoke, soft. You could have done that any day. They'd pushed you for weeks. Lyra nodded once. Yes, but I chose not to. Some lessons hurt more when they come late. Back in the arena, the holoscreens flickered again. The feed from Tharvok kept rolling. More clips appeared, one after another. No music, no narration, just raw footage and cold text. A drop pod descent onto a burning world. Lyra strapped in tight, face calm through the shaking. She hit dirt running, rifle up, eyes scanning. She led her squad through smoke and fire, called targets short and clear. They followed without question. Another scene. 0G boarding on a pirate frigate. Hull breach wide open. Lyra floated in first, mag boots locked. She moved down the corridor methodically, clearing rooms one by one. Shots precise. Enemies fell before they could aim. She pulled a trapped engineer from wreckage, carried him on her back. Through flames. A longer clip showed the Corridor 7 stand. The famous one, helmet cam shaky, red lights pulsing. Boarders poured in, wave after wave. Lyra braced behind a bulkhead, fired controlled bursts, dropped them as they came. She sang under her breath, an old Earth song, soft and steady. Words too low to catch, but the tune never broke. She held the line. 47 minutes straight. When relief arrived, she collapsed against the wall, still humming, still alive. The screens showed numbers next. Confirmed kills, 147 across 6 years. Medals listed, valor under fire, survival against odds, leadership in crisis. Medical logs detailed the cost, broken bones, burns, shrapnel. Still she returned to duty, every time. Cadets watched every second. No one left the seats. Instructors sat forward now, Tharvok among them. His mandibles stayed still. He knew the record. He had approved the release, but seeing it play public hit different. A young Zorath cadet, near the front, whispered to his friend, "That is not normal strength. That is something else." His friend nodded slow. Humans hide it well, until they do not. The feed ended. Final screen black. Words appeared in white text. Humanity does not break. It adapts. It endures. It ends threats. The arena lights came up slow. Cadets began to move. But the energy felt changed. No laughter, no taunts, just quiet talk. Eyes followed Lyra, even though she had left. Many looked at the empty ring like it held answers. In the medical bay, Grask sat on a table, arm in regen cast, tail braced straight. A medic worked careful. Grask stared at the wall. His friends stood around silent. One tried to speak. "That human, she is not soft." Grask cut him off. "Do not say her name. Voice rough, do not." He looked down at his good hand. It shook slight. He closed it into a fist, then opened it again. The memory of her grip on his neck stayed fresh. Not crushing, just perfect. Enough to stop breath. Enough to force the slap. Cadets spread the word fast. Messages flew across personal pads. Clips shared in private groups. The fight record played again and again. In dorms, in mess halls, in quiet corners. Eyes widened each replay. Mouths stayed open longer. A group of Krell cadets gathered in their block. One older one spoke low. "I thought humans fragile, small, no armor, no venom. Now I see different." Another clicked mandibles fast. "She did not enjoy it. She did it because she had to. That makes it worse." In the human dorms, Mara sat with others. They talked excited and proud. Someone pulled up the old clips again. Look at her face. No fear, just focus. Another human cadet shook his head. She carried that alone for years. We never knew. Night cycle came. Lights dimmed in corridors. The station grew quiet. But sleep came hard for many. Cadets lay awake thinking of the small woman who walked past them every day. Head down, voice soft. Now they saw the shadow she carried. Lyra returned to her room. She sat on her bunk, removed her boots. Slow. She looked at her hands. No marks, no shake. She flexed fingers, then let them rest. A soft knock came. Mara entered without waiting. She sat beside Lyra. "You okay?" Lyra smiled small. "Yes, better than okay." Mara looked at her long. "You scared them. Today they will not forget." Lyra nodded. "They needed to see. I hope it teaches more than fear." Mara leaned back against the wall. "What now?" Lyra thought quiet. "Now we train together. Now we build. Now we show the galaxy what humans really are. When we choose peace, and when we choose otherwise." They sat in silence. Stars outside moved steady. The academy slept uneasy, but change had rooted deep. Next morning, cadets moved different. No one bumped Lyra in halls. No one scratched her locker. No one whispered soft skin as she passed. Eyes dropped when she looked their way. Respect replaced mockery. Caution replaced arrogance. Grask stayed in medical longer. His friends avoided the topic. Return to class. He sat in back. Head low, no challenges, no boasts. Tharvok found Lyra in the gym early. She trained alone, form slow and exact. He watched from the door, then approached Cadet Voss. She stopped, turned. "Instructor." He clicked mandibles soft. "The record is out now. Everyone knows." Lyra wiped sweat from her brow. "Yes." Tharvok studied her. "You could have ended the bullying weeks ago. One display would have stopped it." Lyra met his eyes. "I wanted them to choose respect, not force it." He nodded slow. "A rare choice. Many would not make it." Lyra smiled faint. "I am not many." Tharvok turned to leave, then paused. "You have changed this place. Already cadets talk different. Instructors think different." Lyra said nothing. She just looked at him calm. He left quiet. The gym lights hummed soft around her. Days passed. The whispers grew into open talk. Cadets asked questions careful. Some approached Lyra direct, asked about techniques, asked about wars, asked how she stayed calm. She answered honest but short. Never bragged, never hid. A young Krell cadet named Siskara found her one evening in the mess hall. "May I sit?" Lyra nodded. "Please." Siskara sat careful. "I saw the footage. I have questions." Lyra listened. "How do you hold back so long?" Siskara asked. "When anger burns inside?" Lyra thought, "It burns less when you remember why you fight. Not for pride, not for show, for the ones who cannot, for the future that might not need fighting." Siskara clicked mandibles slow. "I understand now why you stayed quiet." Lyra smiled small. "Good." They ate together quiet. The table felt less empty. Word spread wider. Cadets from other blocks came, asked to train, asked to learn. Lyra agreed, but set rules. No bullying, no taunts, train hard, train fair. The gym filled more each night, humans and aliens side by side, learning from the quiet one who once seemed small. The stars outside kept turning, patient, endless. Inside the academy, something new grew. Respect. Born not from fear alone, but from understanding what strength really looks like when it hides behind calm eyes. And no one wanted to test it again.